fun it was having those two guys on the ice. Tanev makes a lot of people feel safe up here, so having him and Lindell on the ice at the same time must have been lovely. Tell us a little bit about Mason Marchment. You're in the Leafs hour of our show here, so tell us a little bit about Mason Marchment. He is, as someone who watched him closely, I feel like he's a chaotic player. Like there's a lot going on. There's limbs everywhere. Sometimes he shoots it in the net. Sometimes he punches someone in the face. What are your thoughts on Mason Marchment?
Well, he's become one of my favorite players. You know, I was fortunate. I played with his dad going way back, so I have a connection there with his family and that, and that's way back to Winnipeg days. So aging myself a little bit, but he's a great story when you talk about development and the patience, and unfortunately sometimes the rules in our game don't allow that patience to happen. But he's a great story. You know, a guy that could hardly make a junior team, end up getting a chance to play in the American Hockey League and found his way and ends up going to the NHL and gets on a fourth line, and we're reaping the rewards of this. His skill is really I don't think people realize how skilled he is. He's got an unbelievable stick. He's got a long stick, he's got great hands, and he's starting to mature now. You know, he's a young guy, just got married. And he's a young guy that's figuring out the game, and him with Duchesne and Sagan were one of the best lines in the league until Sagan got hurt. They're still one of the best lines with those two and Logan Stankoven playing. But he's got a great feel for the game, and he's got that other part that we all love. He's got an edge to him. He can play the game any way you want. He brings us some physicality. He's got good size, and he's really a rounded player now. And the thing I'm most proud of him, he's got the discipline in him. You know, he's competitive, and he's always had an edge to him, and I don't want him to lose that edge, but he's learned how to control that, and it's really made him a very important player for us on our team.
Hey, Jim, we've been around the game long enough to know this time of year there tends to be a few distractions, including the in-laws coming in, and, you know, do I get my kid the Lego set or not? And, you know, what is it like this time of year for a general manager? You have the trade freeze coming up Thursday at midnight. Is that the equivalent to the three of us now shopping at the last minute?
Yeah, a little bit. There's been some things going on. It's still pretty early, I think, for a lot to happen. You know, you've got too many teams still in it, and you look at the Eastern Conference, you know, with some teams slipping, and you look at the teams coming up, there's a lot of teams still in it. So, you know, if you're a team, you're middle of December, and to start selling off players and making trades, not easy to do right now. And then you got the other teams that are in the playoffs, and it's too early for them to start making moves, because what if you get a bunch of injuries in January and February? How do you make those moves? So there's lots of talk going on. But I think it's just too early for a lot of things to happen. You know, the deadline's coming up here, like you said, on the 20th, and there might be some small moves, but I don't see – it's hard for teams on both sides of the equation to start 28, 30 games into it to start making major moves.
You know, if Jason keeps struggling for you, you can always just flip him for his brother, Nick.
Yeah, any interest?
No, I actually know them both very well. They live in Detroit in the summer times, and I spent some time in Detroit. I got grandkids back there, so I see them around. And great family. I really enjoy their family, but they are dedicated hockey players, and it's interesting because they're both so different. They're different type of players, but both very effective.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Sammy, I tried, bud.
Yeah,
I tried.
It didn't work out.
Hey, Jim, really appreciate your time. We're looking forward to the game tonight. Best of luck moving forward, and thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, guys, and all the best. You guys have spent some great time with your families, and everybody have a great Christmas, and all the best for the new year.
You as well, Jim.
You too. Thanks so much.
That is Jim Nill, general manager of the Dallas Stars, as we get set for a big game on the network here, Wednesday Night Hockey. David Amber.
Yeah. Hey, we should see if we can get the Leafs jam one day. That was nice. I enjoyed hearing about them.
Now I know why Jim Nill's had so much success. Just sweet
World's
guy.
nicest man.
Yeah, he is.
It's like, you call me, it's like,
but it's
want to make a trade with me? I'm like, yeah, Jimmy, sure.
What do you need?
What do you need?
It is.
Help yourself.
There's two worlds, because there's the media world of the Leafs, and then there's everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're figuring out ways to avoid us, the Leafs.
Very good at it.
Right?
They're great at that.
Jim's down there, and he's like, I don't know if you guys know, but we got a pretty good defenseman in Miro.
Hey, this guy's like the best defenseman in the league over here.
Hey, And we totally understand why you don't watch him because, you don't.
But please, he's
Right?
here if you'll watch.
He is amazing.
It's
What's that? Heiskanen.
Oh my God, yeah,
Right?
he's amazing.
He
but
skates.
Jim's smart enough to understand that if I'm going to get some attention, come on shows like ours.
It really should be, if you're doing PR for some of those teams in the South, that, like whatever you need, that, we'll have people on anytime you want.
Love it.
Try to sell the game.
Okay, we talked briefly about talking about the Leaf Blue line here, and I know they've managed some wins again, but it just seems over 60 minutes since that game, I guess, against New Jersey. Have we seen a little bit of slippage on the back end, in your opinion?
I mean, I will say generally, Kip, what is the last really good game the Leafs played? Like maybe they didn't beat up on the Ducks all that bad. Like they've had a pretty soft schedule. I think you got to go back to about Tampa Bay a month ago or something. So generally, I don't think they've been electric. You think defensively in particular, it's been a little?
Yeah, I think, and I can't recall Craig Berube, but it was a soundbite that really stuck out with me, and it was like we're not getting out as clean as I'd like, and I think I've seen it now for about a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Well, I think a big part of that would be that you're playing one of your better puck-moving defensemen on the offside of the ice with Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Is a guy that you bring in here to be able to do that, and he's been playing on his offside. Coach talked about that. Clip 4.
Yeah, well, for sure. Anybody that plays their offside is going to have a little more difficult time at times for moving the puck, And you put a defenseman on his forehand and on his side, he's going to move the puck better. So, but I think he's okay. I think he's adjusted to it. And I think, like I said, he's played it in the past too. It's not like the first time for him to do this. So, but, I think you're going to have a little ups and downs with it for sure. That's just human nature, playing on your offside. It's just more difficult.
I think for me, there's still so much upside to get to with Morgan Riley. I think if Morgan can find a way to get on a bit of a roll here, it would certainly help OEL.
Yeah, it would. I also think that, they got a great showing from Timmins in the early going, and he's kind of been okay. Philippe Myers is in all the time. He's okay. Like,
Benoit's been hot and cold for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You too, Sammy?
I thought he was really great for a stretch of games after he got scratched for the Hakanpää 2 games. And I thought it was maybe 3 or 4 game stretch after that where he was really physical and really engaged. And that kind of went back down the other way for me a bit. Feels like they're going to have to manage that.
His quote really stands out to me where he said, someone asked him about preserving his body. And he was like, I don't have that luxury. Given where I am in the depth chart and the style I play, I have to play like it's a playoff game every night, and you can't succeed that way. I don't blame him for doing it, and it's not a criticism. It's just an observation. He's not going to be able to be good playing like a playoff game 82 times.
Oliver Ekman-Larsson's second lowest ice time of the season was last game against Buffalo. Played 17:41. He was a +2. He had an assist. To me, that's where ideally you have him because they've brought him in here, and he's had some really big number games here. Like he's had a 25, a 24, few 24s.
He's first on the team and for a while.
He's played a lot of minutes, and I think it's kind of like he had a really, really hot start here where it was you're pretty excited about what they paid him. Yeah. And I think there's been kind of the other side of it you've seen, and a lot of it comes with playing with Riley offside.
Maybe they'll get Riley Luke Shen after all. Did you guys see? Oh, you did.
Yeah,
I
sent it
to us. Luke Shen had 6 shots in 3 seconds the other night. I think last
night.
I saw that, and
I haven't seen the highlight.
Typo.
I mean, it's got to be.
Was it a typo?
Did I send the highlight?
No, I didn't see the highlight. Does he actually get off 6?
He's just
whack, 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 whack.
All in the backhand.
If you're the goalie, you're loving that.
Yeah.
Had them stats.
But I mean, they still lost.
Well,
the Rangers still lost 2-0. Here, I'll send you. I thought I sent it in the group.
6 shots in 3 seconds.
I read it and I assumed it was a typo.
No.
So I didn't even look.
There you go. So offensive dynamo, Luke Shen.
That's bad for the shooting percentage, isn't it?
Oh, it's bad. But then, you don't get a shot for a couple games. You're like, I'm averaging 2 shots a game over the last 3.
Something tells me Luke Shen's shooting percentage isn't great.
Probably not.
There goes the bonus.
Yeah.
All right, so
Prediction?
Extend the domination of the Dallas Stars here tonight?
Yeah, I think you're going to see a good Leafs game tonight. A healthier Leafs team
And
on the road.
a
They've been
very good, powerful first line look tonight. is
Nothing
your
fancy.
call.
Nothing fancy.
Leafs facing center crisis amid injuries, eyeing trade market for solutions. As the Toronto Maple Leafs battle through a growing injury list and a suspension, their lack of depth at the center position has become a glaring issue. According to Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman in his latest 32 Thoughts article, the Leafs are among the teams exploring trade options to bolster their lineup. This effort is coming amid increasing competition from teams like the Chicago Blackhawks and Nashville Predators, who have also set their sights on improving their center depth. Friedman didn't mince words about the Leafs' predicament. The teams currently focusing on centers, including Chicago and Nashville, must consider when others will enter the market. Toronto will undoubtedly be one of those teams, he wrote. While the Blackhawks and Predators may have an edge in terms of cap space and assets, the Leafs remain a team to watch as the season progresses. The Leafs situation is urgent, with up to 7 forwards currently unavailable due to injury or suspension. Ryan Reeves is serving a 5-game suspension, while key players like Austin Matthews, upper body, Matthew Knies, upper body, Kaye Jarnkrok, groin/sports hernia, David Kampf, lower body, Max Domi, lower body, and Max Pacioretty, lower body, are all sidelined. The team has even considered temporarily shifting Mitch Marner to the center position, highlighting the severity of their depth issues. This isn't just a short-term concern for the Leafs. Depth at center has been a persistent challenge for the team, and while stopgap solutions like Marner could help in the interim, the front office appears keen to explore longer-term fixes. For fans of the blue and white, this has been a recurring theme. The Leafs' center depth often becomes a problem at the worst possible times. James Myrtle of The Athletic recently added more fuel to the speculation, naming several potential trade targets who could help the Leafs address their issues. Among them is Ryan O'Reilly, a familiar name for Toronto fans. O'Reilly, who signed a 4-year, $18 million deal with Nashville in 2023, might be a trade candidate if the Predators' underwhelming start to the season, 6-11-3, 31st in the league, prompts a rebuild. However, his steep price tag and history with the Leafs, including rejecting a free agency offer less than 2 years ago, make this a complex and potentially unlikely move. Other names mentioned by Myrtle include former Leaf Nazem Kadri, currently with Calgary, as well as players like Michael Granlund, Nick Jugstad, Brock Nelson, Yanni Gourde, Trent Frederick, Radek Faksa, and Sean Corrali. While some of these options seem more plausible than others, it's clear that general manager Brad Treliving will need to get creative to find the right piece without mortgaging the team's future. Cap space remains one of the biggest obstacles for the Leafs. Unlike teams like Chicago and Nashville, which have more flexibility and assets, Toronto is walking a financial tightrope. As Friedman noted, competition will intensify as cap-constrained teams strive to create room. For the Leafs, that could mean waiting for the market to develop further, a risky move given their current needs. The situation also highlights the Leafs' ongoing struggle to build a roster that can withstand the grueling nature of an NHL season. Injuries are an inevitability in hockey, but Toronto's current predicament underscores the importance of depth, a quality the team has struggled to consistently maintain. Looking back on recent years, the Leafs have often leaned heavily on their star players, particularly Matthews, Marner, and William Nylander. While these players have delivered in spades, the lack of reliable depth options has left the team vulnerable in critical moments. The current crisis at center is merely the latest example of this recurring issue. Some fans have called for more aggressive moves from Treliving, arguing that now is the time to strike while the team's core is in its prime. Others, however, are more cautious, pointing to the dangers of overpaying for short-term fixes. Striking the right balance will be key, especially as the Leafs aim to keep their championship window open. Despite the challenges, there's no denying that Toronto has the talent to be a contender, provided they can patch up their lineup. The ongoing rumors and speculation surrounding potential trades show that the Leafs are at least exploring every avenue to strengthen their roster. For fans of the blue and white, this moment feels like a pivotal point in the season. With a lineup ravaged by injuries and a tough schedule ahead, the Leafs must act decisively to avoid falling behind in the standings. The addition of a dependable center could be the difference between weathering the storm or watching another season slip away. Whether it's O'Reilly, Kadri, or another surprise name, one thing is certain: the Leafs are under pressure to deliver. And for a fan base as passionate and loyal as Toronto's, there's no room for excuses. The time to act is now, and Leafs Nation is watching closely. As the trade deadline approaches, the stakes couldn't be higher. Will Treliving pull off a move that solidifies the Leafs' status as a contender, or will the search for center depth become yet another chapter in the team's long history of what-ifs? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, it's never boring in Leafs land. As the Maple Leafs navigate this critical juncture, their fan base remains as vocal as ever. Toronto is a city that breathes hockey, and the pressure on Brad Treliving to make the right moves is immense. Every decision he makes, or doesn't make, will be scrutinized, from talk radio to social media, where Leafs Nation is already debating the merits of the various names being floated as potential trade targets. Among the louder debates is whether the team should prioritize a high-profile acquisition like Ryan O'Reilly or Nazem Kadri, or focus on a lower-cost, reliable center who can fill a supporting role without costing too many future assets. While O'Reilly's leadership and playoff experience make him an attractive option, his contract and recent history with the Leafs add layers of complexity to any potential reunion. Similarly, Kadri's gritty, two-way playstyle remains a fan favorite, but his cap hit and availability might render him an unrealistic target. Another factor complicating the Leafs situation is their tight salary cap. While Chicago and Nashville can make moves with relative ease due to their financial flexibility, Toronto must navigate a labyrinth of constraints to make any trade work. This likely means including salary retention or moving existing contracts to make room, which could drive up the cost of any potential deal. The question then becomes, how much are the Leafs willing to sacrifice to address their immediate needs? One potential trade partner generating buzz is the Seattle Kraken. Yanni Gourde, a dependable two-way center, has been mentioned as a possible target. Gourde's versatility and championship pedigree from his time with Tampa Bay make him an appealing option. Seattle, however, is in playoff contention and may not be inclined to part with a key piece unless the Leafs can provide a substantial return. Another intriguing name is Brock Nelson of the New York Islanders. Nelson is a consistent scorer and reliable faceoffman, qualities that would undoubtedly bolster Toronto's center depth. However, the Islanders are notoriously cautious when it comes to trades, and prying Nelson away would likely require a significant package, including picks or prospects that the Leafs may be hesitant to part with. For all the trade talk, some analysts believe the solution might come from within. Sheldon Keefe has shown a willingness to experiment with his lineup, and players like Pontus Holmberg or Fraser Minton could be given an opportunity to step up. While relying on less experienced players carries risks, it might be the Leafs' only option if the trade market proves too costly or slow to develop. Adding to the Leafs' urgency is the timing. The Atlantic Division remains one of the toughest in the league, with teams like Boston, Florida, and Tampa Bay continuing to dominate. Any prolonged slump could see Toronto slip further down the standings, putting their playoff hopes in jeopardy. For a team with Stanley Cup aspirations, failing to address their weaknesses could have catastrophic consequences. Brad Treliving's history as a general manager suggests he's not afraid to make bold moves. His time with the Calgary Flames was marked by blockbuster trades, including the acquisition of Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar in the Matthew Tkachuk deal. Leafs fans hope he brings that same decisiveness to Toronto, especially as the trade deadline looms. Beyond the immediate need for a center, this situation underscores a broader issue with the Leafs roster construction. Depth has been a perennial concern, and while Toronto boasts some of the league's top-end talent, their reliance on a handful of stars has left them vulnerable in moments like this. Moving forward, addressing this imbalance must be a priority for the front office if the team is to achieve sustained success. As the Leafs head into a critical stretch of the season, the next few weeks could define their trajectory.